Right, yes. Seems like Emil here has a third suggestion, small local business versus big dominant business. Yes, that's a very interesting topic. Reminds me of our mutualist discussion.
Yes. Yeah, true. And it's yeah, we had made some videos on this, but also this is an interesting uh, topic and also a very important today, I think, or getting more and more important. Yeah.
Right. Yes, it's very sad to see how the economy develops in a way that excludes many small businesses and replaces them with huge, often multinational corporations.
I had a conversation with a friend yesterday, and we talked about how many um, businesses today use very unethical business practices. Like, for example, they overpromise and then they underdeliver, and it's just they just do it in a kind of way so that they can't really get sued for it, or so that it's less useful for their customer to sue them rather than to just deal with this half finished, half negative product that he has now received. So it's a very unethical business practice. It's actually a form of fraud, but still it's spreading through many businesses. And my friend was of the opinion that actually businesses that are ethical in their dealing with their customers should spread over the long time. And I said, yeah, in a free market with good information flow, that would happen. But when you have a very heavily regulated market, as we have more and more, then this doesn't necessarily have to happen, because um, competition is hard to establish, and also, yeah, big business. And yeah, another problem would be the limited liability, but I think also the regulation would really play into this problem that we are observing, that more and more huge businesses push away small businesses.
Right, yes, it is. It is a problem, and it has several aspects, and just this relationship between the government and big businesses in helping each other, so to speak, and putting small businesses at a disadvantage. That's a problem, and this has been pointed out both by, you could say, the left wing, who's generally against what it calls capitalism, but also you could say elements of what is typically called the right wing, or conservatives, more traditionalist conservatives, who sense that the modern multinational corporation is undermining or destroying even local traditions and businesses that perhaps had been going on for generations, and replacing something more natural and localized, and something that might be important for the culture of some specific place, and replacing it with this more artificial and unnatural, huge, centralized structure governed by some people, perhaps even in another country, that is not tied to some specific cultural or local identity, for instance. And that's sad on multiple levels. Yeah, yes, interesting. Emil says, I did now know that. That's cool. Also, to the audience, generally speaking, if you have any comments to share about this subject, then feel free to do so, just so that you know.
Yes, and also welcome to our new viewers. And we are still in the beginning, so if you have some suggestion for a topic that really interests you, then also please let us know in the comments. So far, the topics were suggested: the existence of God, or the proof of the existence, and monarchy, and then also small businesses versus big businesses. So, And we have kind of started talking a little bit about the small versus big businesses, but still the topic is open for discussion. Yeah, also just continuing this thought, recently it's really weird how the newspaper in Switzerland keeps talking about experts expecting a blackout in winter, that there won't be enough electricity, and so the government will have to do this or that, and now there is already a plan what the government is going to do in case of not having enough electricity. And in my mind, this is just a little bit crazy that one of the richest and best maintained countries in the world just kind of accepts, oh yeah, probably there won't be enough electricity in our country in the upcoming winter, so we are trying to get people used to this idea and kind of feeding them this idea through the mass media instead of taking some proper action in order to avert this problem and to have enough electricity. So I really think that's very weird, and it goes to what you have been saying, Christoffer, that sometimes even you feel like these huge businesses or these huge structures are controlled by people that aren't even in your own country. Because for me, it's just absolutely, I can't understand it how the government of our country just kind of says, oh yeah, probably there won't be enough electricity. Like, you people could do something about this perhaps instead of just accepting it. So
Right, exactly. There seems to be this general problem of incompetent politicians. We can say, and it's sort of it's tragic in a way because it has a lot of consequences for the people living in those places, subject to those politicians ruling there, and people have been talking about the EU as being this very centralized and undemocratic institution that transcends national boundaries, that centralizes responsibility, political responsibilities, in the hands of bureaucrats at Brussels, whom are not elected or whom are not even known by many people. So it creates this very centralized process by which you feel that you can't really identify with the ruling powers, because now you have the EU, you have the UN and other institutions, and also other, you could say, globalist institutions like the World Bank or World Trade Organization, which makes decisions that really have a huge impact when you consider it in total, but most people might not even know anything about what is happening at, say, the World Trade Organization or the UN. But of course, big businesses all over the world will have this connection to them. And yes, if you see some of these organizations, some of their leaders say some very shocking thing and doesn't do anything productive about it, something similar to what you were describing, then what are you going to do then? You can't elect them or elect something new, someone new, or you can't really relate to them in any meaningful way, I feel.
yes, and you said incompetent politicians, but I don't think it's only incompetence. I think it's more, I don't know what the right word is, but they are not doing what they are responsible for doing in society. They are doing something else. And I really don't know what the right word is. Treacherous seems a little bit too hard, but because they are very competent when they want to achieve something themselves. Then they are really fast and really efficient at making these things happen and putting new laws in action or changing something when they really want to. Then it's super fast. But when they don't want to, then they just seem like oh yeah, well, this takes a long time and it's very complicated and we can't really this or that. So I think it's not so much incompetence as really just having other motives than to actually serve the public, which would be their role. The role of politicians is to serve the population of their own country and do what this population wishes them to do, and not to try to shove their own agenda or someone else's agenda down the public's throat. And yeah, some people have said, yeah, now we have decided what we want and now we just have to get the population to vote in the right way. And that's really kind of the problem, I think, here.